Hey, it's Colin Mochrie, international comedy icon and sex symbol to three people. You are watching the whole podcast, the only podcast where pants are optional.
Welcome to the whole. I am Rob Sprance.
And I'm Laura Levine.
Colin Mochrie has made me laugh for decades now, as well as many of us. I've from Whose Line Is It Anyway to the phenomenal improv work that he does, which, Laurie hears me go on and on about improv and how envious I am of what you guys do. Colin, it's an honor to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I love when people who enjoy my work talk to me because it really makes me feel important. And that's really all I live for. So thank you. Thank you both.
Well, if you want, I can gas you up half hour that we do this. Fine. But, I talk about improv a lot because we have a lot of actors on, comedic actors that you don't even realize are from that background, but they always mention it, whether it be second TV or Groundlings or any of these. And I always am fascinated about taking that step to go ahead and try it. And the first time that you wanted to do it, like how old are you when you started to get into that? Because it does take an incredible amount of guts in the beginning. I'm sure now it's just second nature. In the beginning, what made you want to get into that specifically?
I was very studious. I was a bookworm. I was very shy. And I was in high school, and my plan was I was going to be a marine biologist, which I think is pretty much everyone's dream at some point.
Of course.
Yeah. So a friend of mine dared me to try out for the school play, which was The Death and Life of Sneaky Fitch, a musical Western that is only performed in high school during the 1970s. So I got it. And I was pretty much the first person out on stage. And I got my first laugh. And immediately, even when I tell this story, I still get the little goosebumps up the back because I just remember that moment going, oh, this is what I want now forever and ever and ever. Yeah. So I left the sciences, went into theater, and then did that long, slow climb into middle stardom.
Well, I'm sure you know. So were your parents thrilled when you're like, by the way, I don't want to be a scientist anymore. I just want to go into theater?
Well, I gotta say, when you go between acting and marine biologist, it's not that far.
One has 4 jobs, one has 5 jobs.
My mother did up until, not recently, but for a while into my career, would send me matchbooks that had on the back, so you want to be a lawyer, with a phone number. And I'd have to call and say, Mom, it's not happening. I'm not going to be a lawyer.
So at some point when you started to get some success, I'm sure she changed her tune a little bit. Was she able to watch you do the shows and everything like that?
When I made it for my mother was when I was on Hollywood Squares.
Oh, okay.
And Kermit the Frog did an impression of me. So that was the pinnacle of fame for my mother. I was on Hollywood Squares, and a Muppet made fun of me. So
it is. You made it. So yeah, I do get what you mean about just that drug of hearing a room laugh when you say something. It's it does make you just want to do it for eternity. And to go though from saying that you were shy and quiet to take a musical role with. That was quite a leap to even try out for that.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that question.
No, that's okay. I said to take a leap to go from someone who is shy to then all of a sudden just decide to try out for a musical. That alone was a big step.
It was, I mean, it's been a long, oh God, I'm going to sound so pretentious here. So please just hang in. um, it was a long journey for me because as soon as I found that love of getting the laugh, I went to theater school. But throughout my life, I found the biggest obstacle to any kind of success or any kind of fun was always me. In theater school, I kind of stopped myself because I still had that shyness. I would hold back, and then I would find a way to get past that. But then my first Who's line, same thing. I got nervous. I held back, and now at this point, I'm 64. I really don't care. At this point, being able to go out and just do what I love doing is a win for me. But it took me way too long to learn that, almost a ridiculous amount of time. But I'm glad I finally did.
I would think that's kind of a chicken and egg thing because with the success of, Whose Line or just as you're getting better at it, of course you're going to be more comfortable with doing it. And I won't say you care less, but you start to learn what not to sweat versus sweating the small stuff. Oh, I maybe should have said that. Because I'm sure there's tons of times in the beginning where you'd watch yourself. Are you able to watch yourself? Like you go back and watch the episodes when they're live and do it. And it doesn't sound pretentious because I would do it. Like, of course I would.
It's I mean, if so many times people come up and say and just quote some scene from Whose Line, and here's the thing, people watching, I don't remember any of it because that's the beauty of improv. It's you do it and it's gone. I mean, Whose Line, of course, has been recorded, and there have been many scenes I have seen because people have sent me the Richard Simmons scene over and over again, which I love and thank you. But there are some things I just don't remember. And the early years of Whose Line was such, I don't want to say it was trauma because let me just say, first of all, so thankful that Whose Line came along and took advantage of truly the only skill I have. I'm not being humble. I'm not being modest. I have nothing else. If this didn't happen, I'd be in Screwtown. But when I had my first show, I had psyched myself out so much that it was horrible. Ryan Stiles, my good friend, we grew up together in Vancouver. At that point, he was part of Whose Line. He said, give Colin another chance. And they paired me with Ryan, who I'd worked with forever, so it went really well. So every year they'd bring me back and go, okay, we're hiring you for 2 shows. And then I would end up doing the entire season.
Right.
But then the next season, it would start again. We're using you for 2 shows. And then, it wasn't until the very last season of the British season that they said, we're using you in all of them. And that's weirdly when I relaxed 7 years into it. I need help, man. I need help.
But I do think it's because you're probably not, you of course you want to succeed at it. So when you get to the point where they go, hey, we want you for the whole season, that's the acceptance. Like that's almost your success. Like you've got that. It's okay, good. Now I don't have to worry about impressing these people week to week to week. Now I can just focus on my craft and just go out there and have fun, because it really does look like you guys have a tremendous amount of fun. And congratulations, 18 seasons now. And
yeah,
that's incredible. And the show has remained hysterically funny. I mean, between Wayne, who just the talent on his end, on the music side, and what he brings to the table, and just the combination of the guests that you have on, there is no episode that I go, that was okay. Like it's always incredibly funny. That's not easy to do when you're just making stuff up.
Yeah. And I have to say, and this is absolutely true, not a fan of anyone else on the show. Um, they're kind of writing my whatever. Um, I think all of us are very proud that when this show started, nobody really knew what improv was. I mean, there was Jonathan Winters when I was growing up and Robin Williams, and that was kind of it. But improv was not in the mainstream vocabulary. And I think Whose Line sort of brought it in there. And then it got a lot of sort of, well, people, purists, improv purists said, well, it's not really improv or whatever. And I can assure you it is. I totally get what they're saying. When you, if you're doing real improv, you're supposed to follow characters, get the story going. You're not supposed to be shticky. But because of the medium we were on, we didn't have the luxury of taking a long time to build characters. And we had to have everything right away. So everything was fast, it was shticky, it was jokey. And I always say, yeah, maybe it's not an example of the greatest improv, but it was sort of your gateway to all kinds of improv. This was like, this is vaudeville improv. Then you can go to long form, you can go to all the different kinds. So that was what I was proud of the most, that we sort of gave people an idea of what improv was.
I love that there's improv purists. There's like improv police.
Exactly. These people, and it's very hard to do. I know a lot of great improvisers who would have trouble doing Whose Line just because of the way it's set up, because everything does have to happen like that. And there's a lot of great improvisers who, they have to take their time, they have to set things up, they have to get their character ready. As I say, this is vaudeville where you have to just jump in and do it. And I don't like to disparage it because, well, first of all, it gave me a career, so thank you. But also, it's hard to do. It's hard to go, and I don't even know what their pitch was for the show. It was, here's four guys you've never seen before. They don't have a show until the audience shouts at them. So give us 26 episodes. It's hard. And I'm really proud of all the stuff we did.
You should be, because I think in a way it redefined what improv is, because I'm sure a lot of people wanted to get into it and grew up on Whose Line, and it's like, I want to do that. And then it can change the game and the way that things are done. And I've seen that type of improv where, okay, here's the scene. And then for the half hour, they just do that. Which, also, like you mentioned, in that medium, you want to be laugh. You almost have to stay relevant and have people just love you. And even though it wasn't well known at the time, everybody was watching Saturday Night Live. Everybody was watching SCTV, which came from that. Everybody on that show came from the Groundlings or came from, SCTV or anything else like that. So I think that Whose Line kind of changed what improv is known as. And yeah, of course, there's the purist snobs, but, you're the ones who have gone on for 18 seasons. So you're the real improv, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, there's always Three Stooges fans. It's not high art. It's just something that makes you laugh. And hopefully that's what we did.
I'm a Marx Brothers guy, so, we have it there. Now, you also do, this is taking it to the next level, HYPROV, which is the mix of, and you do this on tour,
mm-hmm.
where you do a mix of hypnosis and improv. Now, I've not seen any of this, so I wanted to ask you if you could kind of describe what it is, because when I learned about this, I was fascinated.
It is fascinating, and for me, it's absolutely terrifying. What happens is I work with this master hypnotist, Asad Meki. He asks for 20 volunteers. People come up. He hypnotizes them, gets it down to the best 5. Then they and I do an improv show. And it sounds really simple. And I guess it is really, but it's odd. Um, I mean, when I first heard about it, when Assad first approached me and said, "This is what I would like to do. Are you in?" I thought, "Wow, that seems incredibly stupid and terrifying." And of course, I jumped at it because I find when I'm out of my comfort zone, that's actually when I have the most fun, and when I'm fighting for my life as much as I ever will in my life. So to work with 5 people who I've never met before, who are in a hypnotic state, has been interesting. And I think it's really helped my improv skills, because I thought when this first started, I thought, oh, I'm going to be like a traffic cop. I'm going to have to sort of drive everything. But it's like working with pure improvisers. They react immediately to everything Assad or I say. They say things that there are times I go, I don't know if an actual improviser would have said that. It's so out of the box and so just free associating. It's great. So it's been really good for me as an improviser to go through this sort of terrifying experience.
Yeah. So did you get hypnotized by him at any point first? Were you skeptical, like thinking, does he really do it, or like like hypnotize me and show me that it's real?
I never got hypnotized, and it's something we always talk about. We haven't had time because of the tour, but I say, you've got to hypnotize me because everyone's asking about it. And he gave me this weird little test, and he said, oh, you'd be a good subject. And that frightened me. I mean, it's bad enough I said yes to the show. Who knows what else he's got going on? But I find it very interesting because people have a lot of misgivings about hypnosis. A lot of people don't believe it's true. And a lot of people don't believe improv is true. So we put these 2 art forms that nobody really believes in one area, so we save a little time.
It is true, because even when I watch Who's Line and I watch, like, it does, sometimes you're like, because when someone is so good at something, it just becomes natural, or they don't think about it. It's just what they're good at. You don't ask, Eddie Van Halen, like, are you really playing the guitar? It's just taken that he's incredibly talented. So, when I watch Who's Line, there are times I'm like, he didn't even know the song, or, Colin didn't know anything about that, but you can really tell just based on everyone else's reaction that that's really the case.
I know. I feel bad for the guys who do the songs, because there have been times where I go, oh, they must have had that in their back pocket, even though I just gave them the style and the title. It's just they're so amazing at it. And I always tell people, because always people come up, all right, you can tell me, I won't tell anyone. It's all fake, right? And I said, okay, next time you watch a show, transcribe all the scenes, then read them and see if they make any sense. See if you can do them as a sketch anywhere. You can't. They're just of that time. They're of that moment where we got an audience suggestion and where everybody was sort of riffing. It doesn't last beyond that, because it truly makes no sense at all. There's no arc, there's no story really. It's just everybody just trying to get a laugh.
Yeah. Now you parlayed this into, and congratulations on this, winning Last One Laughing in Canada. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
So that right there is probably more than enough validation that you must be doing something right with that as well.
Well, I've been very fortunate that working with the Who's Line guys deadened any response I might have to humor. So that was a nice little training ground. It was really, I don't even, people say, did you enjoy it? And I don't know what the right word is for it. I mean, it was great. It was sort of the first time people had sort of come out after the pandemic. And I knew most of the people who were on the show. I hadn't met Mae Martin. we had just become friends on Twitter and were sort of communicating that way. And I didn't know John. But after this, I felt like they were all my best friends. It was so... it's so odd because when you get with a bunch of comedians, usually that's that's what you do. Everyone tells stories, you laugh, you have a good time. And this was, no, you can't do that. You can do everything except the laughing part. And there were times when the time I got caught was I forgot we were doing this show I forgot the one rule, which was you can't laugh because I was sort of into just having fun with my friends. So it was interesting going through that, and I have to say the last hour with Tom Green was it was just lovely. I met Tom a couple of times. We sort of crossed paths, but after that, I really felt like he was one of my best friends. And I mean, we were really drunk. We were very drunk.
Well, he does have, incredibly bizarre perspective in his humor, and that's why I love it. Like and I don't just mean the stunts or the bits or the preconceived things, but just even in his interviews when he comes back with something like it's so out of left field. Like a lot of us, when we watch something, we're thinking the same joke or we're thinking of something similar, and like he'll come up with something that is just so random.
And then the facial expressions.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, he was the one that I was worried about from the beginning because he's just unpredictable. I mean, he came out in a Sasquatch costume and then just went, I'm going to lay down for a second and just lay on the floor and said, nah, this isn't working. So it was like from minute to minute, he was doing something that would take you by surprise. So, it was great to watch, just to see his stuff. And the commitment was a real lesson on what you should do in comedy. Just that full body commitment.
Yeah, go for it. Now you also, and this is something that really got me excited because there's a lot of very talented Canadian comedy troupes and things like that. Like we had the Trailer Park Boys on in no less, which was funny. And I found out that you're going to be in Kids in the Hall. And, I grew up on that show. I've seen them live a bunch of times. So are you in an episode? What are you doing with them? Because I'm very excited about this.
I am in an episode. I'm also very excited. I've worked with all of them separately.
Really?
And weirdly, my wife had hired them when they were first starting. She was with Second City, and she hired them for the touring company, which didn't end well because they're wacky. I did a project with Scott where he played my father. We were demons. He was like 1,500 years old, which was a lot of fun. I've done a lot of work with Kevin. This, I think, was actually my first time with Mark, and my scene basically is with Mark and Kevin. And, it's, they were such an influence on so many people, and their comedy, what I loved about it was, in a way, it was just for them. It was what they found funny. And if everyone else joined in, that was great. And everybody else did join in. And they're still doing that now. They haven't changed. They haven't mellowed. They're just, and I think they're getting along better than they ever have before. So it's just, the set was magical. It was like, oh, the Beatles have come back together. You want to come in and jam with them? It was like that. It was amazing.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And I didn't realize like if they weren't getting along or what it was, but it has been a very long time since they've done anything. And they've had success in their own right, especially Dave, and David on the radio, and you see him the most. He might be the most recognizable to people who aren't fans of the show. But all of them to have them together again and to hear that you're a part of it, I'm really excited for that. Do you know when that's coming out soon, right?
Yeah, it may actually be available now on Prime Video. And there's also, I think, a 2-part documentary also. a part of it. Yeah, it's fascinating. I remember seeing them when I first moved to Toronto in '87, and they were doing shows at this place called the Rivoli, and it was the first time I ever saw them, and thought, who are these guys? They're just so different from any kind of other sketch comedy that was going on. And then just to watch them through the years, what they've all done together and individually, it's just been amazing.
Yeah. Now you mentioned your wife, Deborah McGrath. I know that you guys also do shows together, right? You do a lot of work, Colin.
Yeah, yeah. You know, I really enjoy my wife. She actually is, she's the funny one in the family. She's the one at parties. She's the storyteller. Yeah, I can't say enough about her. She really is the best thing that ever wandered into my life and somehow I ended up with. Amazing. So we've been doing shows every once in a while, which has been great. Because I have to say, during the pandemic, and you don't want to really praise a pandemic, but I have to say, this was so lovely, and I had not been home that long in 20 years. So being able to spend time with Deb and going, oh yeah, well look, we still like each other, we still enjoy each other, it was just the best time. And of course, it's great that the pandemic is, well, it's not over, but we're getting there, aren't we, or something?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. But still, it was nice to see the relationship still works. We still have fun. And we started booking more shows together. So it's been great. We've never, I think the worst fight we ever had, she said to me, "You're really bugging me." And I went, "Yeah." She said, "I'm going window shopping." And that was it. That was our entire fight.
That's great.
When was that?
That was
like 8 years ago.
1991.
Right, you have it marked in the journal.
Oh yeah, it's red letter day. Deb and I had a fight. Three sentences.
Well, you've written a book a while back called Not Quite the Classics, which also has an audio version of it as well. When you're laughing, you're smiling. I mean, I'll show the cover here, but the excitement of that you have on your face just on the cover itself just shows how much. Was it something like you're shaking your head? Was it something that you didn't want to do, or did you?
No, who wants to write a book? My agent had approached me because I guess I hadn't been working enough for him. He said, "Hey, why don't you write a book?" And I said, "I have nothing to write about. I mean, I could write about my life, but it's really not that exciting. I've had some good luck, I've had some good times, but not a book's worth. It's not like Richard or Peter O'Toole or something." So based on that information, he got me a book deal. And so they said, "So you have to write this book." So I thought, oh, you know what? I'll do it like it's an improv game. So there's this improv game called First Line, Last Line, where you get the first line from the audience of the scene and the last line from the audience. So you have the beginning and you know where you're working towards. So I went through all the classics and found the first and last line of classic novels, and then totally made up the middle. And the first one I did was the Sherlock Holmes one. I think it was A Study in Scarlet. And it was like, this is so easy. It just like flowed out. I thought, oh, I don't understand why people complain about writing and blah, 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 blah. And that was the last good time I had writing that book.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Then it was just, oh, well, I don't, how is it? And then trying to, a lot of great novels have a great first line or they have a great last line. It's finding both it was hell. I mean, when I was finished it, I thought, okay, I'm proud. This is, I think, the first thing I've ever finished in my life. So that's good. But that's it.
Yeah, don't need more for you after that.
No, they keep saying, well, and I think, well, they say writing a book is like childbirth. You forget the first one, and then you jump in. But I still really remember the first one.
Yeah, a ways away.
It was very painful.
Yeah, and you still also tour with Brad Sherwood. You do Scared Scriptless. So yet another, I mean, you're a very busy guy.
Yeah, I am. Once you put it out there, yeah, doing 2 tours and various other things. Again, another sort of side effect of the pandemic was I never thought I could retire. I thought I'll just keep doing this and I'll die on stage. And hopefully it'll be a laugh death where I'll go out with a big laugh. But then during the pandemic, I thought, oh, I'm really kind of enjoying this time off and just cooking or reading or spending time with Deb. So I thought, oh, I can get into that. So, or at least semi-retirement.
Yeah.
So I mean, when the pandemic hit, I was doing the 2 tours. I was also doing a movie. So I was really kind of burnt out because it was basically getting up at 3, going to the airport, then landing somewhere and hoping it was the right place. So I sort of learned that, oh yeah, I learned how to relax during the pandemic, which I think was really important for me to do.
Yeah, and it's no different though. I'm glad you said semi-retire, if anything, because probably no different than an athlete, after he retires, or a musician after the band breaks up, is, you'll miss that drug of the laughter. I mean, you will.
I will, but I also worry about missing the moment when to leave. It's all great now, but seeing an 80-year-old walk like a chicken, well, that really...
No, I would like that.
Would you though, or would you think he's really going to hurt himself, Lori?
No, I would enjoy it very much.
Okay. Yeah, so I would love, I mean, I was a big a Bob Hope fan, like of his early movies and his radio shows. And then when he got into the NBC specials, I thought, okay, maybe it's time you didn't. And so that is my fear, because I do love doing it, but I think there's also a point where, okay, you've done well. Now it's time to just sort of relax.
Well, I can give you a counter argument on that.
Oh, okay.
I saw George Carlin.
Okay, George Carlin, of course. Well,
I saw him maybe a year and a half before he passed, and it was one of the funniest shows I've ever seen. So,
okay, but is George Carlin like a freak of nature? Because his stuff, I mean, from the way he started as a double act, and then he had his like sort of hippy dippy stuff, and then he just hit his stride and became like one of the most amazing voices in comedy. Yeah, I'm not that.
Oh, you do some other things that I want to make sure before we go that our listeners are aware of. You do cameos for anyone who wants them. I know you can go to cameo.com, and I'll put the links up here too.
Okay.
You can get a cameo from Colin as well. And all of these things that we're talking about here, he's still doing. They had the hypnosis shows, the Scared Scriptless. So, if you go to colinmochrie.com, that's really the best place to give you everything that you need as far as where he's going to be, all of the different projects. And I'm sure there's going to be more that we haven't even talked about yet. But
he's a busy man.
He's a very busy man. But
I'm trying to bring the world together through laughter.
You are.
I'm doing a horrible job lately, but we'll see what we can do.
Colin, I didn't realize you and Ryan grew up together.
Yeah, he when I first met Ryan, he was doing stand-up, and okay, this goes no farther. Horrible stand-up. Horrible stand-up. His jokes were about a low-budget zoo and Dolly Parton. That was his entire act.
It sounds funny.
But when he became, when I thought, was what he would spend a lot of time just riffing with the audience, and that's where he really shined. Yeah. So yeah, we've known each other for a long time.
Yeah, there's really two kinds of funny. There's preparation funny, and there's off the cuff funny. There's no one better than the other, but rarely do people have both.
Yeah.
But I will tell you one thing: you're incredibly off the cuff, buddy. And I want everyone to go to colinmochrie.com, check out all of his projects, see him on the Kids in the Hall coming up. And anything else you wanna promote or talk about that you're working on?
I don't know. I think no. I think HYPROV, the thing with Brad. There may be a chance you'll be seeing HYPROV in New York at some point.
Oh, we're in
Oh,
New York.
wow.
Well, I'm not allowed to say.
Okay.
That's a teaser.
All right. Well, Lori and I are in New York, so we'll be there.
Oh, okay. Well, keep an eye out. It'll be somewhere.
Perfect. Colin, thank you so much. It was an honor
I
having
am in shorts, though.
Oh, me too.
me free. And you know what? For everything and your modesty, you should look back on everything you've done and be incredibly proud because you've made me laugh for decades now.
Change the game.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much for having me on. It was a pleasure.
Sorry about the audio issues.
No, it kind of stopped halfway through, which is great.
You know what? We have a way of working ourselves out. Thank you again, Colin. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
So much. Have a good evening.
You too. Take care.
Thank you for watching Whole. I am Rob Sprance.
And I'm Lori Levine.
Later, motherfuckers.